Hey everyone, it's Stephanie here, and today I have a video to share that features some cards made with the new Simon Says Stamp Mother's and Father's Day release for 2014. This die that I'll be working with is new and it's called Tall Flowers, and it has these great flower images that you see on these cards that I've created here. I've just combined the die multiple times to create more flowers than you get on the original die by itself. It's really easy to add more of these side by side to make as many or as little flowers as you want. And you can actually even cut them apart too if you want, and if you want less flowers. So for my first card, I'm just going to go ahead and die cut these flowers out of this cardstock. And you can see there I'm kind of letting it overhang on the bottom. I wanted to cut right off of the page. And I'm going to actually cut this out twice. So you can see there I've went ahead and cut them both out twice. Sorry I can't film that. It's kind of hard to get my big shot in my area where I film my videos. But I just went ahead and cut it first with the big shot and then put it in it a second time and cut it again. And I wanted them pretty close to one another, but I didn't want to fully cut both dies into one another. So you can see there under that little leaf in the center, it's very flimsy, that piece there, but it is still attached. So I have the pieces of the flowers that I die cut from the inside, and I also have all of the loose little pieces there that go in between all of the flower stems. So you want to keep all your parts because we're going to reassemble the whole die cut after I've given the flower some color. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm just taking various colors of Copic markers. I've picked spring colors in pinks and purples. Me using purple is kind of a surprise because I have a hard time working with it, but I've been really trying to use it lately, and I really like how it looks on this card when it's finished. So definitely try a new color if you're not used to working with one, because you may be surprised by how much you'll like it. So anyway, back to this card. I went ahead and just used two pink shades on the smaller flowers, and I just used the lighter color first and then added the darker color onto the tips of the flower petals just to give a little bit of contrast and some detail. And then I went ahead and did the same thing with the large purple flower. I just used a lighter color first and then went ahead and added the darker color on just to the tips of the flower petals once again. And then I'm using this fun aqua teal color, and I'm using it on the tulips there and just adding some darker color to the bottom and then blending that up into the top area of the flower just so it kind of fades out as the flower gets near the top of the flower area. And then to complete the color on the flowers, I'm just using two shades of green Copic marker here, and I just went ahead and used one color first and colored everything, and then just used the second color to kind of just go in and add a little bit of shadowing and highlights just to give the flower stems and the leaves a little bit more detail. And then once I have all that color added there, you can see how great and realistic those flowers look with the different shading and stuff. It just makes them look so much better. Just adding that second color just makes such a big impact on the colors of the flowers. So I just went ahead and did the same thing to the second set of flowers. So now all my flowers are colored. So now it comes the time to kind of piece everything back together. This is what's been referred to as die cut inlay. A lot of designers have been doing this technique lately, and I really like it because it keeps everything completely flat on your card front and just kind of gives a really unique look, because you can see that the area is die cut out, but only the flowers have the color on them. So it's a neat look for a card front just to see those the colored flowers popping out of the white background. So I went ahead and put some adhesive all over a piece of typing paper, and I completely covered it because I want all of the areas under the flower openings to be sticky. And then I just went ahead and placed the die cut piece directly on top of that typewriter paper. And you just want to be careful when you do that you kind of put it on loosely. You don't want to stick it down really, really hard, just because when you start to put the flowers in, you may notice that the white pieces aren't exactly where they're supposed to be, just because they have a little bit of movement before the flowers are in place. So you just want to be able to kind of manipulate those around to get everything to fit properly. So I'm just going to speed it up here as I go through. And for some reason, when I started to add in these pieces, I didn't really pay attention. I was putting the long ones in the areas where obviously the short one should go. So once I got all those in there, I realized that all the short pieces were too short for the areas I had left, so I had to kind of move those around a little bit. So just keep in mind when you're putting it all back together that the areas that are cut out are going to fit exactly back into the areas that are open there. So I'm just going to go ahead and shift these around and then add the shorter one into the area that I'm removing them from. And you can see how quick and easy this is. It's just like putting a puzzle back together. Everything just kind of fits in perfectly, and you should end up with a perfectly rectangular piece of cardstock once again with those flowers all inlaid in there perfectly. And then once I have everything back in, I like to take my bone folder and just kind of rub it across the top, kind of lightly at first in case there's any little pieces, that edges and stuff that are still kind of sticking up. But once I know that it's fully down flat, I like to give it a nice good rub over top just to make sure that everything is fully adhered down and those flowers aren't going to move at all. And then to go ahead and work on the rest of the card completion, I decided to map this panel onto a piece of black cardstock just because I want to stamp my sentiment in black ink, and I want to eventually layer this onto a white note card. So I really wanted the colors in those flowers to pop off the card, and I just felt like the black really helped to do that. So for the sentiment, I'm using another new release from this, or another new stamp set, I'm sorry, from this release called Summer Garden. And I really love the sentiments in this stamp set. I love the font, I love the words, I just think that they're really great. And I really think they pair nicely with these flower images. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the Thinking of You for this particular card. And I'm going to stamp that in VersaFine Onyx Black ink. This is by far the best ink for sentiments and detailed stamping. It really gives a nice crisp image. It is a pigment ink, so it tends to take a tiny bit longer to dry, but nothing noticeable at all. And it's a really great impression that you get every time you stamp with it. So I really enjoy this ink and use it often for my sentiments. So I just went ahead and inked that up, and I stamped it off onto a piece of scratch paper just to make sure it stamped properly, just because I hadn't used it yet. And then I went ahead and stamped it directly onto the card front, and it fit perfectly there, and I just think it looks so nice with those flowers. So now I'm just attaching that whole completed panel onto a piece of Simon Says Stamp white wood grain cardstock, sorry. And then to complete the card, I'm adding sequins to the area around the flowers and also adding some shimmer. And this is the second card I made. This one I did a little bit differently. This is, these flowers are all actually glitter with glitter Ritz. And what I did here is I die cut the flowers repeatedly and glued a whole bunch of them together to give them some dimension. And then also cut them out of Be Creative tape to make them sticky on the top and added glitter. Then I colored them with Copic markers and then completed the card by adhering all the panels. So those are my cards for this release. I hope you enjoyed them, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.